Welcome to the Mindset Unleashed Today podcast. My name is Tommy Gucciardo, and I'm excited to share my insights and experiences with you to help you shift your mindset and improve your life. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be exploring different areas of life, discussing how to make positive changes. Now, I'll be doing this by interviewing guests who can provide additional perspectives and their experiences. I believe that by making a mindset shift, we can all unleash our full potential and create the lives we want to live. I hope you'll join me on this journey. Okay, how you doing, everyone? Welcome back to the Mindset Unleashed Today podcast. I'm Tommy Gucciardo, and I'm your host. So something I want to talk about today is something that I struggled with for a very, very long time. I struggle with a lot of things, but this is something that, especially when I first came into recovery, I struggled with, and it's being vulnerable, right? And, I was always from the school of, being tough, don't show your feelings, don't cry or anything like that. And that caused me to hold a lot of things in for a very long time. And so I struggled when I first came into recovery to be open and being vulnerable with somebody. And and the reason why is because I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel comfortable with doing that. I didn't feel like telling anybody my secrets or my stories or what I think happened to me. And it helped. It hurt me in my first go around with recovery, and it didn't help me grow as a person. And the reason why is because I really, when I started using to mask all those feelings, I never grew as a person. So by me not growing as that person, it kind of stunted my emotional well-being and my emotional growth, and it didn't teach me how to deal with things. And now as, fast forward a few years, in the future, I'm able to deal with a lot of my emotions, a lot of my pains, a lot of my struggles. And, I'm okay with opening up to people, but it took me a really long time to get to that point. And what I'm trying to say is I didn't understand the process of the emotions and understand where they were coming from. So it took me, a real long time to deal with that. But, the thing about, being vulnerable is that, it helps you to not, like they say, you're only as sick as your secrets, right? So if I'm keeping all this stuff inside of me and I'm keep on hurting and I keep on struggling, with these emotions, with these feelings, and, I'm not letting it out, because you know what? Even when I let it out, I might feel, embarrassed of what I did or embarrassed of what I was talking about. And and that's the whole thing. It's not about embarrassment. It's about freeing yourself from stuff, right? And then when you free yourself from that stuff, how is that person going to respond to you? Or how are those people going to respond to you? So it's also about the people that you have around your life as well. So, you have to be careful with that also. But, being vulnerable, hey, listen, it took me a real long time. It took me a real long time to be vulnerable and talk about my fears, right? Or talk about my pains, or talk about my struggles, because I didn't want anybody to judge me. Today I'm okay with that, but it took me some time to get to that level. And, yeah, does it hurt to when you are vulnerable, or when you say, maybe I love you, or, when somebody doesn't say it back, or when you say something and somebody looks at you, like, how could you do something like that? Or why do you have those feelings? And it hurts you, and it makes you not want to be vulnerable. But you also have to understand the people that you're dealing with also. So, like I said before, when you do open up to others, make sure you have a strong support system around you, that people you could trust and are not going to judge you and are not going to, hold you down and keep you, where you want to keep those feelings in. And, I think that's the important thing, is getting a good network around you, getting good people around you. Luckily in recovery, I do have good people around you, and it taught me how to have people around me outside of recovery that are good people also. My whole life isn't based around recovery. Recovery got me to the point where I can get out into the real world and deal with real world problems with real people, right? And it just helped me to, when I'm creating a relationship with somebody, whether it business, whether it emotional, whether it a boyfriend, a girlfriend, recovery has helped me to get past that. So now I'm able to be vulnerable with somebody. I'm able to tell somebody my feelings. I'm able to talk about what's going on in my life. And that's freed me up. That's freed me up, And it's also about being vulnerable, like I was talking about business, right? Let's say you have a disagreement with a partner, or your coworker, right? And you want to talk about stuff that's happened, right? And it's okay to be vulnerable and take that risk and say, listen, I might have been wrong or you're wrong, So, vulnerability is a real tricky subject. But, once you understand your feelings and your emotions, I think it becomes a little more easier to be more vulnerable with people and not let down your guard per se, but you're able to talk to people and tell you how you really feel. And that's the whole key to things, right? Is really telling people how you feel and expressing your feelings and expressing what's going on in your life, because that's the only way you're going to get better. And that's the only way you're going to grow as a person, and it really comes down to, just like I said, just getting to know your feelings, right? And don't be afraid. Like, I talk about my past a lot. Yeah, I was incarcerated. Yes, I was an addict. Yes, I did bad things, right? But that past has forged my future, right? It's taught me a lot of things, and it's taught me how to be a better man today, how to be a better father today, how to be vulnerable today, right? And I'm not saying I don't care what people think. I do, and I say this all the time. I do care what people think, but I also care about myself too, right? And I care about my feelings, and I care about where I'm at in my life, So if you're feeling vulnerable or get with somebody you trust, right? Forge a relationship with somebody, even if it's one person, right? You forge that relationship with that person. You start talking about things. You start talking about life, and you share stuff, right? And then when stuff starts feeling okay, and when you're starting to, master those feelings and those emotions, you start bringing more people into the fold, and and you can be more vulnerable and talk about things, right? And like I talk about the word vulnerable, it could just be like, even, making friends with somebody, right? Trying to make that first impression, right? We're so nervous how people are going to think or how people are going to act. Just take the risk. Take the leap of faith, right? It's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable, right? That's the only way you're going to grow. If you stay in that shell and you stay, within yourself, you're just going to hold on to negative feelings and negativity, and you're never going to grow as a person. So, take it from me. Out of this whole thing, the one thing that I hope you got is, listen, I had a past. And, I was very rigid. I was very, emotionally not there. And it was because I was afraid to let out my true feelings and how I feel, right? Whether I was happy, whether I was sad, whether I was mad, whether, it could have been anything, but I didn't want to let people know me. I didn't want to let people know about me or where I came from or what I was about or what I was thinking. And because I was afraid of what they would say. I'm not afraid of what people say today, right? I hold my head up high. I talk about my feelings. I talk about where I'm at in my life. And I hope that you could understand that and you could relate to that. That's why I do this podcast. I do this to help people. I do this, to help one person get something out of this podcast today. Then I did my job, right? So go out there. Trust one person. Go out on a limb. Be vulnerable. Tell somebody your feelings. Tell somebody where you're at in your life. And see what happens, right? You'll never know until you try. So I hope you get something out of this podcast today. The only way we can get this message out is if we like and we share and we comment and we subscribe and we just get this message out to anybody, that everybody can change their mindset and have a better life. Thank you very much for tuning in.